that's where we got the Fuji. And Apex, because it is the apex of the entire Lexus line. This is the top of the mountain. This is all the design, this is all the engineering, and this is all the finesse that you would expect from Lexus in their pursuit of perfection. Now, it is a supercar, and everybody wants to know what makes it a supercar and what is going to separate this vehicle from all of the other high-end sports vehicles on the market. There's a bunch of different things when you look at when you're looking for a supercar. There's three main things, and that's design and styling. And as you can see here, it's got the design and styling, very aggressive, very nice looking, but we still managed to keep that finesse design philosophy from front to back of the vehicle. But it's all purpose, and it's all function driven. So you can see a lot of ventilation, a lot of dams and openings in different areas, all of which are all functional. Now, whether that be for your air intakes, your brake cooling, or your oil cooling up here at the front, or the really cool feature right here, you guys actually see the way the design starts here. There's a particular shape and curvature right here that actually sends the air right into these side view mirrors. Most of the time you don't even think about side view mirrors when it comes to wind resistance on a car, but these are fixed in a particular shape, and you guys can see the grooving on it. That's going to take that air and funnel it directly into these side scoops, one on either side, driver and passenger side. The reason for that, and they want to get a bunch of air there, is because these openings right here in the back are where the dual-mounted radiators are housed. Instead of being at the front of the car with the engine, those have been shifted all the way towards the rear of the vehicle. Not only to put more weight over the rear tires, but instead of all that heat building underneath the engine, all of that is just going to dissipate right off the rear of the vehicle as it's cutting through the air. So it's a very smart and functional design. As long as moving the transmission to the back of the car, you have a 48-52 split on weight distribution. So even though the engine is at the front of the car, there is more weight over the rear tires. What that's going to do for the driver is no matter what your driving skill or capability is you're going to have a very well-balanced car. So the center of gravity is actually sitting right in your lap. That means you're steering your own body through a turn. So instead of steering a heavy rear-end car through a turn or a heavy front-end car through the turn, it's not going to be hard to navigate or maneuver at all. You're going to be steering yourself. It's going to be a very easy process for anybody that gets in this car and drives it. So it's going to be very easy to drive on a day-to-day basis. And another thing that they added that really separated this from any other supercar is because they wanted it to be driven on a day-to-day basis, this particular vehicle has something called sound cueing. It's one of the world's first. You guys have never seen this on another car before. Now, up here on the top of the dash, you guys can't quite see it, but there's special ventilation openings on the top of the dash and on the bottom of the dash. What the engineers did is on each one of the handmade motors is they tuned it to get a specific note. If any of you are familiar with Formula One, it's a very high-end note, and with this 9,000 RPM revving engine, all high notes are continuously pumped in over the dash. Down where your feet are, all the low notes are piped in. So both of those notes combine and meet right at the apex of your ear, so you have a perfect note and sound at all times. So it's like being at a concert hall, but the concert hall just happens to be a 4.8 liter V10 that's cranking out 552 horsepower. With all that power and this lightweight carbon fiber design, you're going to get a 0 to 60 in about 3.6 seconds and a top speed of 205 miles per hour. It is a lot of car, but that's why that sound cueing is so important, because you can't always go 175 miles per hour. You're not always going to be able to have the car on the track. So even when you're going 45, 55, 65 miles an hour, you're going to have that emotional attachment to the car, even at those lower speeds, because you're having this amazing noise and sound all the time. Because a lot of performance cars make great noise for everybody else that's standing on the street watching them go by. They wanted the driver and passenger to really have an emotional, emotive experience throughout the entire driving process. Now, another special thing about this car that makes it a supercar is its limited production. 500 LFAs worldwide. What that means for the United States is about 150. 150 of these are coming to the United States. So this is a very rare glimpse at that particular car. The interesting thing about those 500 though is there's about 30 billion combinations of customizing this car. So out of 500 LFAs worldwide, not one of them should look anything like the next. They should all be very distinct from, they can actually match the color off your shirt if you like, and they can paint the entire car that way. If you want brown stitching, red stitching, whatever it needs to make your car, they can do it for you. Whether it be pink calipers, they can do it. Anything that you want customized can be done for you on this particular vehicle. Now, that lightweight design is also really nice too, because you can talk about it and talk about all the carbon fiber on the car, but what the engineers did was really nice. Here in the doorway, when the car comes around you guys, they left part of the entire cocoon that the driver's sitting in, what they call the tub, exposed here at the bottom. And it's all hand-laid carbon fiber. It's a very nice touch, and it saved about 300 pounds on the car. So 65% of this car is carbon fiber. Just about everywhere you look, you can see the carbon fiber accents. And they actually took that to the next step. This is a high-performance vehicle, and everybody thinks about speed. You rarely think about stopping the vehicle from those high speeds. So if you take a look at these brakes here, this is a test track driven car. It's been across the United States and North America. These are special brakes. Some of you are familiar with the ceramic brake, maybe even on our own ISF that we have here. Ceramic brakes are used for usually the higher end sport vehicles for better stopping power. But these are even more special. So they took that carbon and they baked it in a kiln with that ceramic brake at a very high temperature and bonded those two things together. And what they ended up coming out with is a carbon ceramic brake.